able to understand the transmission of pressure in liquids, in the liquids in fluids. That's fluid consists of liquid and gases. And as I earlier told you in the last lecture also, liquid and gas both falls in the category of fluid. And you will be able to uh, assess the applications of hydraulics in all the machines. uh, and you will be able to employ the concept of continuity of flow. You can able to employ the concept of capillarity. You can be able to understand the concept of surface tension all after this chapter. And last but not the least, you may be uh, able to understand what is viscosity. So after reading the objectives of chapter 1, you must have uh, capable and understand that what we are going to achieve after reading this chapter. So coming to the introduction part of the chapter 1, we are having first we will discuss different kinds of fluids which are available in the universe. So we have ideal fluid, we have real fluid, Newtonian fluid, non-Newtonian fluid, ideal plastic fluid, incompressible fluid, and compressible fluid. These are some kinds of fluids which are available in the universe. So the scientists and engineers have categorized the fluids in the different category. Whenever a fluid cannot be compressed, it's because viscosity does not fall in the category of an ideal fluid. This fluid is called an ideal fluid. कि किसी भी फ्लूइड की अगर कोई विस्कोसिटी नहीं है, अगर उसको हम कंप्रेस नहीं कर सकते, तो देन दैट फ्लूइड इज कॉल्ड एन आइडियल फ्लूइड. मतलब आइडियल फ्लूइड जो है, तो साइंटिस्ट ने ये किया है डिस्कवर, इट कैन नॉट एग्जिस्ट इन द यूनिवर्स. ऐसा कोई भी फ्लूइड नहीं है, देयर इज नो फ्लूइड इन द यूनिवर्स दैट कैन नॉट बी कंप्रेस्ड एंड इट डज नॉट हैव सम viscosity. Every fluid has the capacity to be compressed, and every fluid has some value of viscosity. So neither of the fluid is present in the universe that is having zero viscosity and zero compressibility. So this ideal fluid is also known as imaginary fluid that doesn't exist in the universe. So therefore, we do not have any example of ideal fluid. But in the case of proving in the ensuing chapters also, whenever we are studying different kinds of derivations, like we will do Bernoulli's theorem, we will do Darcy's equations in the coming chapters of flow of fluids or flow through pipes. We'll having certain kinds of derivations to solve the and to reaching out some output result. Then we will suppose that we are assuming that our fluid is an ideal fluid. But in reality, this fluid does not exist in the universe, because every fluid, whether you take any oil, whether you take any water, whether you take any kind of gas, whether you take any kind of humid air, all are having a capacity to be compressed, and they all having some value of their viscosity. So this ideal fluid is generally called an imaginary fluid that doesn't exist in real life. Next one is the real fluid. So all the, this is the vice versa, or you can say this is the reciprocal of the ideal fluid. All the fluids that exist in the universe are all called real fluid, like water, oil, gas, air. These all fluids are called the real fluid that have some value of viscosity, and that those can be compressed. So I have earlier said every fluid can be compressed and every fluid has some viscosity. So the fluid which is having some compressible value, that can be compressed at some extent and has having some value of viscosity, that is called real fluid. And all the fluids that possess viscosity and compressibility are called real fluids. What is viscosity? I will mention it in the coming slides. That is what is viscosity. This is the main property of the fluid. Basically, we are having layers in between the fluid. You all know all the fluid is having some layers. Let us say we have a pipe of 5 diameter from which the water is being flowing from one point to another point. So whenever the fluid is flowing, fluid doesn't has any shape. It acquires the shape of the container or the pipe through which it is being transported or in which it is stored. Like a gas doesn't has any shape, a fluid doesn't has any shape. When we condense that fluid, it can contain and it can acquire the shape of that particular container. Whereas a fluid doesn't have any shape. It possesses the shape from which it is being transported from one point to another point. So viscosity is basically the layers of the fluid. So if there is some resistance in between the layers of the fluid, that is called the viscosity. That is resistance to the flow of fluid is called the viscosity. If the resistance in between the layers of the fluid is very, very high, then the viscosity is high. Like in the case of honey, I have already told in the last class also. Whereas in the case of the water, the viscosity is less as compared to the mercury or as compared to the honey, because there is a less resistance in between the layers of the fluid. When the fluid is flowing from point, let us say point A to B, there is some resistance in between the layers of the fluid. So these are called viscous fluids and they are termed as real fluid. Okay. So next one is the non-Newtonian fluid and Newtonian fluids. So there is a law, Newton's law of viscosity, which we'll discuss in the successive slides also. Whenever that fluid obeys the Newton's law of viscosity, that fluid is called or termed as Newtonian fluid. Whenever the fluid doesn't obey that particular law of viscosity, that is Newton's law of viscosity, it is known as non-Newtonian flow of fluids or non-Newtonian fluids. Next one is the ideal plastic fluid. Whenever the shear stress is proportional to the directly proportional to the velocity gradient and shear stress is more than the yield value, then it is known as ideal plastic fluid. So we are having an example of ink printer और we are having example of mud water. अगर हम पानी में mud को मिला दें then that will be an example of ideal plastic fluid. और ink print जो printer की ink है that is also an ideal plastic fluid. So here the velocity gradient is directly proportional to the shear stress and also the value of shear stress is more than the yield value. So this is called ideal plastic fluid. Next one is the incompressible fluid. When the density of the fluid doesn't change with respect to the application of the external force, it is known as the incompressible fluid. मतलब क्या है यहाँ पे कि as soon as you are applying an external force to compress that fluid, its density doesn't change. Then it is called an incompressible fluid. In reality, also incompressible fluid doesn't exist in the universe. Like it is also an example of ideal fluid. That is, every fluid which is available in the universe is compressible. Every fluid can be compressed to certain extent, to certain pressure, to certain compressible value. But if you say I am having an incompressible fluid that cannot be compressed, that is not available in the universe. Till now, scientists have failed to identify any incompressible fluid. All fluids are compressible. They can be compressed by external force to some extent, because after compressibility, we all know that there is some increase in the pressure of the fluid. So you are increasing the density and you are increasing the pressure of the fluid by applying the external force, then that fluid is known as the compressible fluid. So you can see these are the fluid types we have read in the previous slide also. I have around a classification chart also. So we have ideal fluid, real fluid, non-Newtonian fluid, Newtonian fluid, compressible fluid, incompressible fluid, and ideal plastic fluid. So this is the comparison of different kinds of fluids available in the universe. So you can say this is an flow chart, or you can say a diagram representing velocity gradient on the x-axis, and on the y-axis we have shear stress. And mm, the fluid which is lying on the y-axis, that is on the shear stress, is called ideal solid or ideal fluid, where there is we cannot achieve any compressibility and it is having a zero value of viscosity, which is not available in the universe, as I have earlier said. So shear stress is lying on the y-axis, ideal fluid is lying on the y-axis. So all are having their some value, and velocity gradient is also zero in the case of the ideal fluid. So it is lying on the y-axis as well as on the x-axis. You can see that purple and blue line on the x-axis and y-axis respectively, they both representing ideal fluid because they doesn't represent any viscosity and they cannot be compressed. Next one is the Newtonian non-Newtonian fluids. You can say when the velocity gradient is directly proportional to the shear stress, that is velocity gradient is a partial derivative of of shear stress with respect to its velocity, that is Newtonian fluid is directly proportional to the shear stress. तो यहाँ पे आप देख सकते हैं velocity gradient is directly proportional to the shear stress. So this is a straight line we are getting from origin to the straight line. This is called Newtonian fluid. And non-Newtonian fluid is that where uh, it doesn't obey that Newton's law of viscosity. Newton's law of viscosity represents the shear stress is directly proportional to the velocity gradient. That is, it is representing this by this uh, orange line. You can see this is not directly proportional to the shear stress is not directly proportional to the velocity gradient here. Whereas in the case of the ideal plastic fluid, you can see there is no such value at as it starts from the zero. There is always some viscosity, there is always some compressibility at the start of the ideal plastic fluid. So it is having some value of shear stress at the start of the graph. So it is having some value of the shear stress, but the velocity gradient is zero at the start of the this figure. And as soon as this external force is being applied on the ideal plastic fluid, you can see the velocity gradient is increasing slowly and steadily, and also the shear stress is increasing slowly and steadily with respect to the velocity gradient. So next one is the fluid mechanics and its branches. So fluid mechanics is generally the branch of science that deals with the fluid behavior. That is, fluid can be liquids, gases, oil, water, any anything that can flow is falls in the category of fluid. So the study of that behavior of fluid in the rest as well as in motion is termed as fluid mechanics. Fluid mechanics generally has a wide range of applications in the mechanical engineering. So in this chapter we'll read fluid mechanics and its applications in hydraulics and as well as in pneumatic systems. So we have just have a glance in this chapter. That's why this chapter is named as a introduction chapter. So all the things which we'll study in this chapter, I will only discuss. I will not discuss in the coming chapter. I will only quote these values or quote this terminology in the coming chapters. Like we have some fluid properties coming in the ensuing slides also. We are having fluid properties like specific gravity, density, vapor pressure, viscosity, or compressibility. I'll just quote that these fluid properties in the ensuing slides. You just need to understand these fluid properties here in the first chapter. If you have the understand this, if you have understood these fluid properties, then there will be no problem in the coming chapters to you. You will if I call it as a viscosity, if I call it as a compressibility of a fluid, you can easily understand what I am talking about in the coming chapters. So in the first chapter you must understood all these fluid properties which we read in the coming slides. So fluid mechanics is basically a study of fluid behavior when the fluid is at the rest or at the motion. So we have categorized, engineers have categorized the three fluid mechanics in the three branches. So first one is the static, second one is the kinematics, and third one is the dynamics. So fluid mechanics is basically divided into three branches. First one is statics, second is kinematics, and third one is dynamics. So we are having three constituents of fluid mechanics. So fluid statics deals with the when the fluid is at rest. Like you have filled water in your water bottle, you have filled gas in your air cylinder in the gas cylinder. So all these fluids, when the fluid is at rest, then that study of that fluid when the fluid is at rest is called fluid statics. ठीक है, जब fluid rest पे है, like you have filled water in your water bottle, you have filled gas in your gas cylinder, and you have kept it at rest. So that when we'll study the fluid is at rest, that branch is known as fluid statics. Whereas kinematics deals with the velocities and accelerations and the pattern of flow when the fluid is moving. When the fluid is moving from one point to another point, like in your household, we are having water pipes installed. Whenever you're transporting the water from the lower level to higher level, even you're transporting the water from one point to another point within the house, then when you're studying that velocity of the fluid, at which velocity the fluid is moving, at which acceleration the fluid is accelerating, and which pattern of flow, that is, we will study different kinds of pattern of flow patterns in the coming chapters. We'll have a chapter of flow fluids. In that chapter we'll study different kinds of flow patterns are there. We have a steady flow, we have unsteady flow, we have linear flow, we have laminar flow. There are some different kinds of flow of fluids. So whenever you're studying the fluid in motion and you are identifying its velocity, acceleration, and flow of pattern, then that study is known as fluid kinematics. Whereas in the fluid dynamics, you study not only deals with the fluid is in motion, but it also deals with the relations or the cause, that why the fluid is moving in this kind of pattern, why the fluid is having this kind of velocity, why the fluid is having this much of acceleration, and what are the forces which are causing this kind of flow. Then that study is known as fluid dynamics. That is, fluid dynamics doesn't deal, not only deal with the fluid in motion, वो motion को तो deal कर ही रही है, but also it is dealing the relation between the velocities, accelerations, the forces and energy which is causing them. Like when the fluid is in motion, it's obviously it is having some kinetic energy, it is having some pressure energy also. When the fluid is moving from one point to another point, it is having some pressure energy, some kinetic energy. So what is the cause behind this pressure energy with kinetic energy? Then that study is known as fluid dynamics. That these causes, these forces which are causing that motion of flow of fluid falls under the category of fluid dynamics. So these are some fluid properties which we'll study in the ensuing sections. What is density of the fluid? What is specific gravity? What is specific weight? What is specific viscosity? What is specific volume, vapor pressure, compressibility, bulk modulus, surface tension, capillarity? These are some properties of fluid which we'll study in this chapter. And I will quote only this property, that this much of fluid is having this much of specific gravity, this much of density, and this fluid is having this much of viscosity in the coming sections, coming chapters also. You just need to understand these fluid properties at this stage, so that you should, must be familiar with the while I am quoting these fluid properties in the coming sections. So continuing this fluid properties, first one I am having density. So density is being calculated of the matter or of the fluid contained in a unit volume of the substance. It is generally measured with the ratio of mass of the fluid to the volume of the fluid. It is denoted by rho. This symbol is where I'm having my cursor of the mouse. This is called the rho. So when we are having the ratio of mass to the volume, it is termed as density. Next is the viscosity. So viscosity is that when two solid bodies or when fluid are in contact with each other and move related to each other, a friction force develops in between the contact surface of the layers of the liquid. Like I am having an example of, I've earlier said you also that when the fluid is moving from point A to B. So when the, let us say water is moving from point A to B, and it is having the shape of cylindrical shape as that of the shape of the pipe which is transporting the water from one point to another point. Whenever the water is being transported from one point to another point, we are having some layers of the fluid, and whenever the water is moving from one point to another point, all the layers are rubbing with each other when they are being moving from one point to another point. So that rubbing of layers in between them causes a frictional force that develops at the contact surface in the direction opposite to the motion of force. Like let us say the water is moving from point A to B within the pipe, then a frictional force develops in the direction from B to A. That frictional force always act in the opposite direction as that of the body direction of moving of the fluid. अगर fluid move कर रहा है A to B, the frictional force will move from direction B to A. Then that frictional force that is generated, then the situation is very similar when a fluid is moves relative to a solid or when two fluids move each other. Then that resistance to the fluid flow of fluid is known as a viscosity. It is noted by mu. This u, this is called mu, MOU. This is termed as mu, and this is called rho, ROU. So these are some terms which are being used in the next chapter. So you must understand here what are these properties. Density is the ratio of mass upon volume, and viscosity is the resistance to the flow of fluid. Whenever the fluid is moving, the layers are being rubbed with each other. So they generate frictional force that will act in the opposite direction to that of the direction of flow of fluid. So that flow of fluid generally uh, resistance to that flow of fluid is generally termed as viscosity. ठीक है, तो यहाँ पे लिखा हुआ है that is the property that represent the internal resistance of a fluid to the motion, that is fluidity, is called viscosity. You can read this line also. The property that represent the internal resistance of a fluid due to motion, that is fluidity, is called the viscosity. So next one is the Newton's law of viscosity that states that shear stress must be directly proportional to the rate of shear strain or velocity gradient. We have seen that d mu by dy in the previous slide also, that is the velocity gradient. I'm coming again back to the previous slide. This is the velocity gradient. So velocity gradient is basically shear strain. So whenever the fluid or whenever the shear stress is directly proportional to the shear strain, we are having Newton's law of viscosity that states that shear stress is directly proportional to the rate of shear strain. So this is tau. This C is called tau, TOU. This is called TOU. Tau is equal to mu, that is viscosity. That is a constant that remove the sign of proportionality from tau to shear strain. Because shear stress is directly proportional to shear strain, whenever you are removing the sign of proportionality, you have to put an equality sign, you have to put a constant there. So constant is what? Here we are having viscosity as a constant in between the shear stress and the shear strain. So tau represents the shear stress, that is always a ratio of force upon area. Shear stress is basically force upon area, whereas in the force upon area is in the case of the solids. Whereas in the case of the fluids, we are having pressure of the fluid. So we will always represent shear stress as the pressure of fluid to the area of contact. And next one is du by dy is what? Du by dy is what? It is the shear strain, that is the rate of shear deformation. So this is termed as the shear stress is directly proportional to the rate of shear strain, that is tau is equal to mu into du by dy. Next one is the coefficient of compressibility or bulk modulus. You can see the first figure. Don't consider it on the second figure. It is related to surface tension. I will discuss surface tension after that. So coefficient of compressibility, that is bulk modulus, it is a property that fluid that represents the variation of density with pressure at constant temperature. When we are keeping the temperature constant and we are in watching the variation of density with respect to the change in pressure, as soon as there is change in pressure, that is when you are compressing the fluid within the container, when you are compressing the fluid within the container, you are increasing the pressure, and if with the increase in the pressure there is an increase in the density of the fluid, that represents the compressibility. Keep note down that the temperature must remain constant at that point. So when you are compressing the liquid within the container, or at any point you are compressing the fluid, you are increasing the pressure. When you are compressing the fluid, you are increasing the pressure, and simultaneously you are watching if there is change in the density. If there is change in the density, then that represents the compressibility. ठीक है, लाइक अगर आपके पास सॉफ्ट कोई सपोज करिए कि स्पॉन्जी मटेरियल ही है, उसी को आप कंप्रेस कर रहे हैं, तो उसमें अगर उसमें डेंसिटी चेंज हो रही है, देन इट इज कॉल्ड compressibility or coefficient of compressibility. Then bulk modulus is the reciprocal of compressibility. It is just the reciprocal of compressibility. Okay, it is denoted by the ratio of pressure to the change in volume. So delta P divided by delta V by V, that is change in volume to the change in pressure. So next figure you can consider on the next figure also. This is related to the surface tension. Surface tension generally uh, derived whenever two immiscible liquids are mixed. Like you can have an example of oil and water. जब आप oil और water को mix करते हैं, they cannot be mixed with each other. They are immiscible liquid. Immiscible means they cannot be mixed with each other. Like if you want to mix water with the juice, it can be mixed. Whereas in the case of the oil and water, it cannot be mixed. You always see that whenever you try to mix oil with the water, oil always have a layer on the upper surface of the water rather than being mixed with the water. So water and oil generally termed as immiscible liquids. Okay? And these immiscible liquids have some unbalanced forces developed at the interface stretched over the entire fluid mass. So a layer of oil has been developed on the surface of the water. If I am taking an example of oil and water, has been developed and on the upper surface of the water. So that unbalanced force is developed at the interface stretched over the entire fluid surface at the top of the water. So the intensity of molecular attraction per unit length along any line in the surface is called the surface tension. So that line of contact in between the oil and the liquid, oil and the water, that represent a stretchable molecular attraction is termed as a surface tension. आपने देखा होगा अक्सर बारिश के पानी में, बारिश होने के बाद, अगर बारिश होने के एक घंटा हो चुका है, उसके बाद एक लेयर आ जाती है, डस्ट की लेयर आ जाए, चाहे ऑयल की लेयर आ जाए, तो उसके ऊपर आसानी से जो मॉस्किटोज है वो बैठ सकते हैं. दैट्स वाई, क्यों बैठ सकते हैं वहां पे मॉस्किटोज में डूबता क्यों नहीं? बिकॉज देयर इज सम interface stress over the entire fluid mass of the water. So there is some resistance on the surface of the mass of the liquid, so that it prevents the mosquito to fall into the water as compared to the it sitting on the surface of the water. तो इसीलिए क्या है, बारिश के पानी में एक घंटे के बाद, 2 घंटे के बाद आपने देखा होगा देयर इज सम लेयर ऑन द सरफेस ऑफ द वाटर. तो वहां पे क्या है, देयर इज ए इंटरफेस स्ट्रेचिंग ओवर द एंटायर फ्लूइड मास. So that interface stretching over the entire fluid mass helps the mosquito to sit on the standing water. So that stretchiness, that interface stretchiness over the entire fluid mass represent the surface tension, and it is denoted by sigma. So you can see this is denoted by sigma. Sigma. I will take all the questions after the class. So let me complete first. So for example, in a spherical liquid droplet of radius r, the pressure difference delta P between the inside and outside surface of the droplet is given by delta P, that is the pressure difference between inside surface of the droplet and outside surface. So you always see that due to this surface tension also, the droplets of rain or droplets of water are always in the spherical shape. Because why this is in the spherical shape? They are in the spherical shape because the pressure difference between the inside and outside of the droplet is given by 2 sigma by r, because there exists some surface tension, that is outer boundary of that liquid droplet having some outer boundaries having some uh, extra pressure, and in inner boundaries having some another pressure, another value and different value of pressure. So that's why these droplets are always in the spherical shape. You always see that the droplets of rain, the droplets of water is always in the spherical shape, because this is the most suitable shape that they acquire, and these shapes are being acquired due to the surface tension property of the fluid. So always these are in the spherical liquid droplet. Let us say the radius of the spherical droplet is r, small r, and whenever you want to find that difference in the pressure on the outside of that boundary and inside of the boundary, that is change in the pressure, there is some different pressure at outside of the droplet, and there is some another pressure, different value of pressure at the inside of the droplet. So that change in the pressure difference at inside and outside of the droplet of the spherical ball is given by 2 times the surface tension to the radius of that spherical droplet. So this is very important property, viscosity, surface tension in all the syllabus. I will just quote surface tension, and you must understand. You must recall these properties during my quoting in the ensuing sections also. So next properties we are having kinematic viscosity, specific gravity, and specific volume. Kinematic viscosity is just basically an atmospheric variable defined as the ratio between the dynamic viscosity and the density. So whenever we are denoting the dynamic viscosity, is basically the simple viscosity which we have read in this here also, that is the resistance to the flow of fluid denoted by tau. So when we are dividing viscosity, dynamic viscosity to the density, it comes out to the kinematic viscosity. So it basically depends on both atmospheric pressure and air. ठीक है, on both atmospheric pressure and temperature. So kinematic viscosity is basically the ratio of dynamic viscosity to the density. Next is the specific gravity. So specific gravity, when you want to find the specific gravity of any fluid, to just divide the density of that fluid with the density of water. It will give you the value of the specific gravity. That is, if you want to find the specific gravity of mercury, then you must divide the specific gravity density of mercury to the density of water. It will give you the value of specific gravity of the mercury. That is, if you also, if you want to find the specific gravity of honey, you just divide the density of honey to the density of water. It will give you the value of specific gravity. Similarly, we'll having next property, specific volume. It is the ratio of material's volume to the mass. When you are having the ratio of mass to the volume, it gives you the value of density. As we have read in the as a first property of fluid property, we are having density. It is the ratio of mass to the volume. But when you are calculating volume to the mass, it will give you the specific volume of that fluid. ठीक है. Next is the capillary rise. Capillary rise is the phenomena in which liquid spontaneously rises or falls in a narrow space such as thin tube or in the voids of porous material. Surface tension is an important factor in the phenomenon of capillary. So you can see in the capillary that in the some kind of liquids, अगर आपने हमने क्या किया यहाँ पे, we have inverted beaker here. We have inverted beaker here. So whenever you are having inverted beaker into the larger container of water, so you can see I have inverted beaker here. तो यहाँ पे क्या हो रहा है, लिक्विड थोड़ा सा अंदर गया, बाकी स्पेस किसने एक्वायर की है यहाँ पे, we are having some air here, we are having some air here. So this, the height at which the liquid is being filled into the inverted beaker, ulta beaker कर दिया मैंने, inverted beaker, then that height is known as capillary rise. This is called capillarity rise. So you can also read capillary rise or capillarity is the phenomenon in which liquid spontaneously rises or falls in a narrow space such as thin tube or in the voids of porous material. What is porous material? It is having some pores, like bread. You have bread in your home, it is having some pores in the material. So similar way in the fluids we have having some pores, we are having some thin tube which is being inverted to the reservoir, and you can see all the in the earlier, whenever we are having an empty beaker, it is filled with the air, and whenever you having that empty beaker, you will invert that empty beaker into the reservoir, then the water will rise into this. So this is called capillary rise. So this, that height from the top surface of the container to the rise of that liquid is called the capillary rise. So we are having expression of capillary rise and fall. Let us say the diameter of the capillary tube is small d. The angle of contact between water and the tube is theta. H is the capillarity height, and theta is always less than 90 degree. ठीक है, क्योंकि 90 डिग्री से अगर इक्वल हो जाएगा तो बिकॉज at that stage we do not have any phenomena of capillary rise or capillary fall. So in some liquids we are having experiencing having capillary rise, and in the some cases we are having capillary fall. That depends upon the density of the fluid. Like in the case of the mercury, we are having we come to the phenomenon of capillary fall, whereas in the case of the water, we'll uh, come with the phenomenon of capillary rise. So d is the diameter of the capillary tube, theta is the angle of contact over the water surface, sigma is the surface tension we have read in the previous slides, and w is the specific weight. What is specific weight here? It is the product of density into acceleration due to gravity, that is small g. Now upward surface tension force, lifting force is equal to the weight of the water column in the tube. कि जितनी फोर्स ऊपर की तरफ लग रही है वाटर से, उतनी ही क्या लग रही है, उसका वाटर का वेट नीचे लग रहा है. देखो आप अगर चल पा रहे हैं किसी भी सरफेस के ऊपर, तो क्या है, आपका बैलेंस बन रहा है, इसलिए आप चल पा रहे हैं बिकॉज जितना वेट, जितना प्रेशर आप नीचे की तरफ लगा रहे हैं, उतना ही अकॉर्डिंग टू न्यूटन्स थर्ड लॉ क्या है, टू एवरी एक्शन देयर इज इक्वल ऑपोजिट डायरेक्शन. सो जितनी फोर्स सरफेस टेंशन जो है लिक्विड नीचे की तरफ लगा रहा है, उतना ही वेट लगा रहा है नीचे. ठीक है, जितना अपवर्ड सरफेस टेंशन लग रही है इस वाटर कंटेनर से, जितनी अपवर्ड सरफेस टेंशन लग रही है नीचे से ऊपर, उतनी ही क्या है, कैपिलरी फॉल के कारण लिक्विड का जो वेट है वो नीचे लगा रहा है. सो देयरफॉर अपवर्ड सरफेस टेंशन फोर्स कम्स आउट टू बी पाई डी. दैट इज द पाई डी क्या है, दैट इज द सर्कमफ्रेंस ऑफ द ट्यूब, circumference of the tube, pi into d into sigma, that is surface tension, into cos theta, because we have divided this force sigma into the components, that is vertical component and horizontal component. Vertical component is sin theta and horizontal is cos theta. So pi d sigma cos theta is equal to weight of the water column. तो weight कैसे आएगा, this is cylindrical in shape, that is pi by 4 d square, और पाई आर स्क्वायर भी आप कर सकते हैं, बिकॉज बट हेयर वी आर यूजिंग द डायमीटर ऑफ द कैपिलरी ट्यूब. सो डायमीटर इज डी बाय 2 ऑफ द आर. सो आर स्क्वायर, आर की वैल्यू हमने पुट की डी बाय 2, इट कम्स आउट टू बी डी स्क्वायर बाय 4. सो पाई बाय 4 डी स्क्वायर इनटू हाइट ऑफ दैट कैपिलरी इज h small h into the weight, that is w. So it comes out to be pi by 4 d square into h into w. तो यहाँ से हमने d और d कैंसिल हो जाएगा, एक पाई और पाई कैंसिल हो जाएगा, हमारे पास वैल्यू आ जाएगी h की 4 sigma cos theta by wd. So that is, this is a formula to calculate capillary rise. That is h is equal to 4 times sigma. Where what is sigma here? Sigma is surface tension, theta is the angle of contact between water and the capillary tube, W is the weight, and D is the diameter of the capillary tube. We have posed in the start of the article or the derivation. D is the diameter of the capillary tube, theta is the angle of contact of water surface, sigma is the surface tension. So for the water and glass, theta is always zero. Theta is always zero. So cos zero is what you have read in the trigonometry mathematics. Theta cos theta is zero, cos zero is one. So H comes out to be 4 sigma by WD in case of water and glass, because water and glass means that is capillary tube is, if the capillary tube is made up of glass and we are having a liquid as water as the liquid, so cos theta will be 0, cos 0 is 1. So H comes out to be, that is capillary rise comes out to be 4 times sigma divided by WD. But in the case of the other liquid or other combination, that is we are having a another kind of material for the capillary tube and we are having water, then theta will not be 0, and we have to calculate the value of theta, and we have to put the value of theta here, cos theta. So H comes out to be 4 sigma cos that value of theta divided by WD. Okay, it ends your first chapter right now. Now you can ask me your questions. Yes, you can ask on the mic.